Hi, this is Amy Gonzalez, and I am doing my assignment, my active learning assignment. I did it on Undertaking podcast with Brian and Ryan. One thing that I was really interested in this podcast was that they were both from Indiana, which is where I am from originally. So that is something that I thought was really cool. They also seemed very young and millennial, if you want to say. So that was something that really I connected with as well, with them. So the episode I chose was on feature building. It was episode 186. And they actually did not have a guest. The guest, ironically, was the Botox that was put in, I think it was Ryan's skin. He had a whole little talk about how his wife has these like Botox parties and their friend is a nurse, and so he got talked into doing Botox, which is very interesting to me because when I am working in the embalming lab and am doing feature building, I always kind of like joked around in my head that I was giving them Botox, that this is just Botox for the dead. And as somebody who has had Botox and had fillers and all of those things, it was just kind of funny to hear them talk about it and talk about getting fillers. And I guess, now that I listened to the episode, I can get 20% off if I want to go get some Botox fillers in Indiana. But the main topics of the discussion were obviously feature building. And I picked this because I thought it was something that, sorry, my air just came on. But I thought it was something that would relate to restorative art. And I have been lucky enough to do some feature building in the embalming labs. And, you put the feature builder under the tissue. When it reacts with water, it firms up. And so this is kind of what they were talking about. They were talking about using feature builder in different areas of the face, obviously, in the temple areas, in the cheeks, and under the eyes. Some new facts that I learned were they both were talking about ways to use feature building in some areas that I wasn't really aware that you could use them in. And one thing that they talked about was how one of them is how they use a lot of feature builder in the hands, because the hands are such an important part of the embalming process, because other than the mouth and obviously the eyes looking full, but the hands are really a focus usually in the casket. Sorry. So he was talking about doing feature building injections in the tops of the hands to put, some more volume in this area here. And then he was also talking about doing it in the fingertips, which I thought was a great idea, because a lot of times when we get those bodies, they do have really flat fingertips or they're super dehydrated, and this would be giving them like that round, full hand, like fingertip. And actually one of them, I'm not sure which one actually, but said that he does that, and the other one had never tried it before, so it was something new that he learned as well. Let's see. Also, another thing that they were talking about that I haven't been able to experience yet is when they get the bodies, if, like, sometimes they're in, like, weird positions, or the hospitals or, like, people that have found them, or even if they're just finding them, don't move them and put them in the correct positions. And so sometimes they'll go to get the bodies, and the bodies will be, like, on their face, like, laying flat down on their faces, and have been there for hours. So their, like, noses are all crooked, or they were upside down, or their arms are all crazy. And so they were just talking about how, as the medical staff and stuff, they don't really think about those things from a funeral, like, perspective of all the things that we're going to have to do to get their bodies and their faces back to a normal position. So that was also something that I learned. This topic obviously relates to me and my studies because we are studying restorative art, and this is a huge part of our work and what we do, and having the knowledge of restorative art and all the things that you can do to create and make that face and bring it back to its natural form is something that is important that we learn about every day. So that's exactly why I picked this episode. And I can tell you that I will 100% be using Feature Builder for the little fingertips now, or at least try and see how that works out for me. One thing that I kind of disagreed with was one of them said that they do not ever put makeup on men, or they try not to. And I don't know, I just feel like you gotta put a little something on there. Like, they have to have something. They can't, I mean, I understand if you don't want to put, like, a lot of lipstick or a lot of a heavy foundation or anything like that, but as a woman who wears makeup, there are definitely ways to put makeup on to make it look like you're not wearing makeup. So that only one of them said he did it. There was another kind of tangent that they went on about using airbrush makeup, and I never even thought of doing that. Kind of never even entered my mind on using that on a deceased individual, but I think that is a great way to apply makeup. There's definitely a technique to it. They were both talking about how they don't kind of get how it works yet, which is fine. But yeah, that was and they were kind of like discouraged about it. So I guess I would also disagree with not using airbrush, because I think airbrush is awesome. You just got to know how to use it and how to use it well, but it's really great. You can really do a lot with airbrushing as far as like making the skin look really realistic and alive. I think that's it. I actually really liked this podcast. I learned a lot. There were so many episodes that I wanted to pick from. So I am a huge podcast listener, so I have been looking for a funeral podcast. So I guess this is going to be, other than our lovely embalming director, Ben, I think this is going to be my new podcast. This is awesome. And like I said, I like that they're both from Indiana, and it seemed like they had a lot of really great topics and great guests. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm really glad that I got to do this project and got introduced to a new podcast and some new information. So thank you.